Hey, what's happening, everybody? Pragmatic Addict here. I'm back with Jacob for Mike Judge's Beavis and Butthead revival series on Paramount Plus. This is episode 9 now. So this first episode is titled Weird Girl, and the premise states that Beavis and Butthead realizes that he has a secret admirer. And I just gotta say, I was really curious about this one. Kind of like right when it started, I got this like weird sense of like butterflies, kind of. I was like, wait, someone's falling for Beavis. But like, what's the weird part, you know?
I was a little shocked that somebody at first when I hear Weird Girl and the fact that it's about a girl having a crush on him, I thought at first it was just going to be a misunderstanding that she just, I don't know, maybe she was just wanting to be friends, or she was having a crush on someone else, or like, I don't know, maybe she was dating Todd. Maybe this is the first time we were going to see Todd for the first time this season.
Yeah, we were talking about this episode afterward, and we're like, that would have been an incredible wrap-up. Which, yeah, it obviously doesn't end like that, but immediately, I absolutely loved how this episode starts out. It honestly just felt kind of perfect. It starts out with, like, you know, it shows, like, the cafeteria in the school, and we can hear in the background Beavis doing his cornholio bit with, like, and this is, like, literally the first frame. You know, he comes in, he gets bursted into the doors with, like, 3 cops around him. So, I mean, obviously I have fucking questions, like, immediately, like, what the fuck is going on here? And I loved how perfect of a start this was, because this obviously is kind of showcasing, like, right offhand, Beavis' like most bizarre, you know, moment. This is his thing. He's iconic for this. And obviously, like, you know, just as much, like, I'm thinking, okay, well, when does this admirer come into play? And how does this start? And going along with this, like, perfect intro now to this setup, I just gotta say, the writing for Butthead was just equally as great. You know, you see these 3 cops, and they're taking Beavis, you know, away, and Butthead's just kind of there with, like, Cool-Up just spraying into his mouth. He's like, take him to jail. Just obviously just being Butthead, just not giving a fuck, just finding the whole thing funny, just saying, ha, take him to jail. I thought it was perfect. And I gotta say, like, when the episode gives us, like, the first hint of, like, you know, this admirer, I gotta say, it felt extremely uncomfortable, but kind of in every way that it should have. This is obviously a very strange scenario, and even, you know, the whole episode, you can tell that the idea was for this to be extremely uncomfortable of an episode. And even how she, like, first addresses Beavis, she's extremely forward, where, you know, the title really does give that kind of idea of, like, this weird girl. You know, the whole thing is just very strange. It doesn't add up. It's not supposed to ever happen, but she gives, like, the first hint that we get, her demeanor is very forced as well. She's very forward, and she gives Beavis this note that says, I heart you, which Beavis and Butthead think it says the heart is an ass, and that she's saying that she's gonna kick Beavis' ass. But again, everything from the fact that she's into him to how forward she is to even her demeanor, again, it was all uncomfortable, and I think every way that it should have been. And eventually, I even got to the point where I'm like, am I actually even enjoying this all that much? Because again, while the episode is supposed to feel weird, and it certainly does, it got to the point where the episode just felt strange in general. Again, the tone, the idea of it, I didn't really buy any of it. And again, you know, while I do understand that the, you know, the tone and for the kind of like effect that the episode is going for, absolutely, I still, like, just found this episode very difficult to get on the same level with. But I will say, I was also just as equally curious as, you know, because of how cryptic the episode was, and, you know, like where would they possibly go with this? Was there going to be some sort of a twist? Was there going to be some, I mean, usually there is sort of like a big, you know, escalation, a big conclusion. And I gotta say, like, for as strange as the episode was in and of itself, I gotta say, like, as far as the writing goes from, you know, a Beavis and Butthead, you know, standpoint, I still think it did enough justice with it. But overall, I felt really mixed on this episode.
I felt mixed too. There was moments where I was laughing. There was moments where I was just like, okay, that just happened. It was their weakest episode, but it wasn't their worst. It was actually pretty decent for what it was.
That's an interesting thing to state. It's their weakest episode, but it's not their worst. Yeah, the whole thing just felt weird. I mean, like, obviously this kind of idea, it's not something I'm going to pass on. I'm like, an episode where Beavis actually has an admirer. Okay, sure, let's see this. but it just felt strange. And again, it's one of those instances, one of those cases where it's like, I know that the episode is supposed to feel strange, you know, much like the other ones, like Doppelganger. Like, it's not supposed, you're not supposed to like this. It's supposed to feel uncomfortable. But in saying that, just in general, everything about it, it was just, again, it was very hard to get on the same level with. So this next episode is called Time Travelers, and this episode is about, so it shows Beavis and Butthead on a field trip. They're in West Texas, they're like on the border, and it starts out with Van Driesen's like, oh yeah, you know, just on the other side of the border, there's an hour difference, like it's an hour ahead, where Beavis and Butthead think, oh shit, that's an hour into time, that's an hour ahead of time itself, which, you know, it is just a different time zone. They think that it's an hour, you know, it's an hour ahead there, so they think it's an hour ahead in time itself. And what I want to say mostly, like right off the hand, is how this episode felt. Everything from the atmosphere to the setup, it was different, you know. Again, this kind of set up them being on this field trip in this kind of like in West Texas, like on the border and everything. It gave me a sense of vibe, like from like, for example, like Beavis and Butthead Do America. It felt fresh. It felt different. And what I liked about this episode too is that they made something so minimal stretch to something so bizarre, where it is just, you know, they're on the border and, you know, they're like right on the other side of it. It's, you know, a different time zone, an hour ahead, where, you know, they go there thinking that they're an hour ahead at a time, and it really just goes into measures where, you know, God can only imagine.
Beavis eats this gross hot dog that looks like something I've seen before in another cartoon. I'm like, ew, yuck.
Which episode, what is the cartoon you talking about?
I remember some cartoon eating a gross hot dog that was on the floor and had a bunch of nasty stuff on it.
Yeah, so basically, like, the way that they handle this is that in their, you know, brains, they're like, well, since we're on the other side, and this is an hour ahead of time, if anything happens, all we have to do is go on the other side, go back in time, which will, you know, take us back in time an hour, and we can prevent it from all from happening. Again, when you read it, like on paper, this premise, it doesn't sound all that, you know, extreme. It sounds kind of basic, but it is just that case of, again, just making a minimal joke, just stretch to the furthest and just doing everything that you can with it. For example, there is a repeated joke and a repeated, like, you know, scene in this where, you know, since they have that kind of mindset, you know, that mentality of just going to the other side and going back and forth, you know, between an hour or like normal time and an hour ahead and just preventing it, whatever. There's this running joke in this scene where they're going up to the mountain time sign, and they're just like walking in circles, and, you know, like they'll go to one side, walk in circles, and they go to the other, go back and forth. And there's and adding to that, there's this one scene where they're actually just walking it, just circles and circles, thinking that they're just going to go further and further back into time. And really quickly, this is going to feel very weird for this review, but we're going to cut to the commentary really quick, because I did want to make a note about it, and there was really no easy way to cut into the commentary. I mean, it's very, you know, away from the episode itself, but the commentaries in both of these episodes, I thought that they were both strong and savage in their own way. But this particular one, this specific one, so we actually see them watching like this like ocean of this like fish kind of skit, and the whole time, Butthead is just doing his commentary, just insulting Beavis. He's all like they see this one fish, and Butthead's like, yes, that is called the Beavis fish, also known as the wuss fish. And then he's like making jokes about obviously Beavis' mom that he's been doing the whole fucking season now. Where he's like saying, oh yeah, and the wuss fish, Beavis' mom, lives in the Oral Reef. And I was like, okay, I gotta talk about this. I gotta address how savage it was this time around. But yeah, as far as the episode itself, I thought it was mostly fine. Again, it didn't do anything, you know, extreme. Again, like, even on paper, this premise seems just kind of basic, but I do think that for what it was, again, just being minimal and stretching this joke out, they did fine with it. And overall, I'm going to give this one a mostly positive review.
I'm going to give it definitely a 7. That's what I'm going to give it. It was a pretty funny episode. Especially like that one commentary they did about the weird 11-year-old.
Yeah. This whole episode, all the commentary in it, man, it was brutal. It was fucking savage. But yes, guys, that is going to do it for our episode 9 review. So I was planning on reviewing Don't Worry Darling tonight, but I am actually going to wait till tomorrow night because my mom wants to see it and we're going to go see it on Friday. So tomorrow night, I will be dropping my review of Don't Worry Darling. But let us know what you guys thought about the review down below, as well as episode 9. We got 3 more episodes left, guys. I'm really excited to see where it's all going to take off from here. But yes, guys, it's great having you guys here. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one, and have a good rest of your day.